Welcome to the Middle Room Workshop. Today I'm going to show you part 3 of LaserGRBL in-depth tutorial. In this part I will be showing you how to work with images. Without further ado, let's get into it. In part 1 and 2 of this series of tutorial about LaserGRBL, I've been showing you the user interface and also how to work with Gcode files. In this part 3 tutorial, I'll be showing you how to work with images. In particular, I will show you how you can open them, how you can manipulate images, and to work with different type of images, how you can append them, and finally, how you could save your image as a Gcode file so that you can then engrave the image with another software. So, without wasting any more time, let's jump right into it and let's open our first image. So let's go over to File, Open File. Now before opening the image, let's have a look on what are the supported format. So let's drop down the menu here and you can see under raster images we have bitmap, PNG, JPEG and GIF. And so LaserGRBL will allow you to work with pretty much all of the most common raster image file format. Okay, so for this first demonstration, I'll open up this colorful icon that I've made with Inkscape. And so when you open an image, you are presented with this import raster image window. Here there are a bunch of parameters, tools and options that you can change so that you can basically get the wanted result. Let me quickly give you an overview of the interface of this portion of the software, which I haven't covered in the part 1 of the tutorial. So at the center you will see here we have our canvas with the preview and the original tab showing you the actual image. So at the bottom of the canvas you will find simple manipulation tools like rotation about the center, flipping about some of the axes, cropping, here you can select the image and crop, auto cropping, this will basically remove any unwanted parts, and inversion of colors, and finally the option to revert all of the changes. This button, pay attention, will revert all of the changes that were applied from the toolbar here on the bottom. So the changes to parameters, tools and options will actually be untouched from this button. Okay, then on the left of this window you will find the parameters, the different tools that you have available to manipulate your image, and the options for each individual tool. So let's quickly go over all of them. So let's start with the first section, parameters. So on top you have resize. Okay, resize will basically change the way the edges of your image will result if you are basically resizing your image. So say for example you import an image, I'm sure that you will most likely scale it up or down at some degree in order to engrave it on your workpiece. And so when you perform this resizing, you have the option to keep the image as it is, and that means that the edges, they are going to basically show up pixels, so it's pixelates. That's the same thing would happen if you zoom in a image in your computer. So when you zoom in, then you will get pixelation, and so that's the idea of having it sharp. So when I go to sharp, you will see that the lines here, they got a little bit jagged. Okay, and the other option, and that's I think the best option, you can leave it on smooth, HQ cubic, and so this will basically blur out a little bit the edges so that you will get these soft, smooth edges all around. Okay, the next parameter on the list, it's grayscale. Now obviously the image that you are going to import will be most probably colorful, and you know that you are going to engrave it, and so that's going to be some kind of grayscaling. Now Converting the colorful image into a grayscale image will basically take an algorithm. That means there is a way, a mathematical way to perform that operation. And so if you go into the drop-down list, you will see a few options as well as the custom option here. Now, I don't want to get into details about these algorithms here, but what I just want to tell you is that weighted average is the best one in my opinion, and also in the way it works. The reason for that is because the weighted average grayscaling takes into account the sensibility of our receptor, the receptor in our eyes, to the different colors of the RGB space. And so by knowing that, for example, our receptor will be more sensible to green light rather than red, we can basically apply a weight or basically a proportion to each one of the color of the RGB. And so this will basically produce a more accurate result for our eyes, okay? Alternatively, you can use custom. Now, if you've been working with image editing software, you will be familiar with this three cursor here. You will basically be able to change the strength of each one of those. And so as you can see, as I go up and down with this red slider, the image changes a little bit. And so that's something that you will need to work out yourself and to test with the specific image that you will be working with. Okay, so for this demonstration, I'll keep everything on weight average. After that, you have two common slider here, brightness and contrast. So the brightness obviously will change the amount of light on your image, and the contrast will basically change the difference between the lighter and the darker portion of the image itself. Okay, so you will want to manipulate that according to the image that you are working with. And then you have white clipping. This is actually interesting. White clipping will enable you to remove some lighter portion. Say for example, let's go over to the original tab. The door in our image is yellow. So if we would like the engraver to skip that part, so we can come over to the preview. Let's take white clipping and let's slide it up. Now, as the clipping is being applied, the region is selected with this pinkish region. And so now, as you can see, our door is not going to be engraved. Okay. Another way, you can basically convert black and white. And so black and white will basically take everything that is light, it's basically not engraved. Everything that is dark is going to be engraved. And in fact, you can actually change the threshold of this black and white. And so you can also play with that, which will vary depending on the image you imported. Okay, so I will remove black and white for now. Now, let's go over to the conversion tools. So several tools will be available, and the type of tool that you are going to use will depend on the type of image that you are going to input. So that means that you will not get good result with every image that you are going to use. And so the first tool that I want to show you is the last one. And the reason for that is because the last one is actually not applying any parameter conversion, anything whatsoever. So it's going to use a line-to-line tracing, and it's going to keep the image original. It's getting the size and the DPI from the image itself, and is going to engrave it as it is. And so you can see that it's written over here. Okay, and so that's why I wanted to pass this first. Now let's go back to line-to-line tracing. Now line-to-line tracing, you can see it over here. Now line-to-line tracing, well, as the name implies, is going to trace line by line. This will basically use dynamic power modulation. That means, as you can see here in our image, we had this varying color across the image. And so the line, as you can see, goes from dark to light and then to darker again. And so to achieve that, as the laser traces the line, will vary in power in order to achieve a different level of darkening in the material. However, this option will only be available to newer laser engraver. So generally, if your laser engraver runs GRBL firmware version 1.1 and newer, will most probably accept this line-to-line tracing. Otherwise, you will only get constant power output, and so the result is basically black lines all over. So you will not get the result that you intended. Okay, so then I will show you an alternative to that. So every tool on the bottom section will have options, and so in this specific tool we have the direction as an option. So that's, I think, straightforward. You can change the direction of the lines, and the quality. The quality represents the lines per millimeter, so how many times the laser passes or traces per each vertical millimeter. Okay, and so that's something that you will definitely need to try, because this will depend on the type of machine and laser module, since some machine can accept different laser modules, and also the type of material. So normally here you have let's say a trade-off, because as you go up in quality, then it will reach a certain point where you will start burning the material or melting the material, depending on the type of material you're working with. And so you definitely need to try that out. So in my particular case with wood, I found that up to 6 lines per millimeter is actually doing a good job. After that, you will get the wood or the plywood starting to burn out, and so you don't want to do that. After that, you get the preview. I think that's pretty straightforward. It gives you the preview of the lines. And once you're done with your parameters, tools, and options, you can click on Next. Now, on Next, you will have a window to set up the speed and the power of your engraver. So the speed is pretty straightforward. You can set how many millimeters per minute you want. Now, here, that's exactly what I was explaining to you about dynamic power or dynamic power modulation, which is something that line-to-line tracing requires in order to work. And so again, this is only available for a machine with firmware newer than version 1.1. Alternatively, you can go to constant mode, okay? And you have the respective Gcode next to it, okay? Then you have the power, again the minimum and the maximum power. The power goes from 0 to 1000 in LaserGRBL, and so 50 in this case represent a 5% power, okay? After that, you have the image size and positioning. Now, the image will have a size and also a certain quality. And so if you want to use the size and the quality from the image, so that are embedded in the image itself, you can click on auto size and then to click on EXIF. This will basically pull that data inside, okay? Alternatively, you can uncheck auto size. And so here, when you uncheck it, after you did the previous step, you can basically see what the size would have been as per the image that you imported. And you can set your size here. Now, here by default, if we set one size, you can see that I've changed the width and the height changed as well. So in default, you have the proportions that are locked. And so you can see here this padlock, it's closed. However, if you want to perform something fancy, so squishing or stretching in one direction, you can basically unlock that. You'll be warned about what you're about to do. And when you click on OK, then you are able to do all the fancy stuff. But I would suggest you not to do that. So I'll click on auto resize and lock that again. And so I have my ratio back. Finally, you have the offset. Now, the offset represents where you want the reference point be located relative to the image that you imported. And so if you click this white icon over here, we'll basically reset it. Now, in default, this 0, 0 is located on the top left corner of your image. However, there are instances where you want this offset to be moved, and I will show you one of those instances. Or simply you just want them to be at the center. That's something that I commonly do. So to do that, you can click this red icon with the crosshair inside. So this will basically take whatever value is on the upper cell as a width and height, divide them by 2, and simply giving you the center. So once you're happy with all of your settings, you just click on create, and this will give you the preview. Now, you should know already, if you're following my channel, that red represent engraving, and the red shading, so darker and lighter, represent the power of the engraver. So the darker will have a higher power than the lighter one. While these brownish orangish lines, they represent simple passes without actual engraving. Now, let's load again the same image. So let's go over to File and Reload Last. So that's what we can do to reload the last image, so that I can show you the other tools available. Now, as I said, if your laser do not accept dynamic power modulation, or M4, if we speak about Gcode, you can use dithering. And obviously dithering, you don't use it only for that reason. You can also use it if you like the actual rendering of this option. Now, dithering is kind of making pixels with your laser engraver. So dithering, it's basically creating a black and white image, basically, and then it's emulating the pixels, and the grayscale effect, it's given by the engraving density. So as you can see in this region over here from the original image that is lighter, you can see that the density of the dots is lower, while this region that is darker from the image, you can see that the density is higher. And so this will overly render a grayscale image. Okay? And so again, here you have options. Under the options you have the dithering style. These are several styles that you can choose. You can test them on your own. Again, the overall effect will vary depending on the image, so you will need to test that out. Again, you are prompt for direction, so if you want to change the direction of the dithering as well, and the quality, so everything is unchanged. Now, another thing that you can do, and this is another tool, you can basically convert the image into a vector. Now, this is best suited to logos and, for example, a picture of hand-drawn drawings or icons and stuff like that. Obviously, vectorization will not produce a good result for an actual picture, a landscape or a portrait, okay? So that's why I was saying at the beginning that each tool is best suited for a particular type of images. So again, here you have options, but before to move into the options, because I want to show that with another image, you can see that here you can change the brightness, the contrast, and the white clipping, and this will already affect the way the image results. The best thing here that you can do is to convert to black and white, and then to work out until you get the actual stuff that you want. So let's see, white clipping and stuff like that, okay? But for that, I will now open something else. So let's give a cancel to this window. So File, Open, and let's open this picture over here, Open up. Now, I wrote this myself by hand on a piece of paper, and I purposely polluted the page with dots so that I can show you one of the options in the vectorization tool. So let's go under to preview. Let's crop the image just to get the portion that we actually care about. And let's click on vectorization. Now, as you can see, this already worked something out. Again, here you will need to work your brightness and stuff so that you can get the right result. Okay, so that's something that you need to care about before to move any further. And once you're happy with that, you can let's uncheck this all so you can see what these are doing. So The first thing is, you can see here we have these dots, and we don't really want that in our engraving. So we can remove the spots. So click on spot removal and crank up this number. So as you can see, as I go up with the number, more and more spots are disappearing because this is matching the size. Okay, so once you're happy with that, you can stop with that. Now there are different options, they're doing different things. Some of them is not going to be visually previewed because there are things happening in the background in the Gcode files exactly. So we can apply smoothing. Okay, this will basically render a smoother outline here. Okay, we can also optimize. This is something that happens in the background, so you will not see anything changing here. A great tool is downsampling. Downsampling will basically correct some of the mistakes. Let's see if we can get rid of this spike here on the thumb up. So let's click on it and let's crank up a little bit. There we go. There you go. So as you can see, we got rid of this spike, but we got again some of the spots. So we can crank up the number and we can get the spots. Okay. And then we have also adaptive quality. This one will basically apply a certain quality depending on the size of the image. So if we are downsizing or upsizing the image, will basically include more or less of the details available in the original image. Then travel optimization, again, this is something that happened in the background in the Gcode, should produce a quicker job. And then you can also apply some filling. Now, right now, the gray area inside is not going to be engraved. So if you apply a filling, you will basically see it rendered in the preview. So again, vertical, here you have more things, cross, grid, and so on. You can experiment with that. Again, you have the filling quality, which represent the lines per millimeter. And once you are ready with that, you can basically click OK. Again, you are prompted to set power and speed. Here, this time, you can also change the speed of the filling. As you can see, you have one more speed over here. So I think we can leave everything in default and then give on create. It will take some time depending on the details, and boom. And as you can see, we got our result. Now, in reality, from the preview, you might see that some stuff will appear and disappear accordingly. And that's depending on the final scale that you give to your image. So if that's the case, you can go, you can reload the image. You can click on reload. This will basically reopen the image with the settings that you were using. So you can quickly recrop, okay? And here you can work out your parameter again until the details are actually gone. Okay, and so once you're happy with that, then you can click on next, and so that it will get regenerated. And then one more tool that I actually didn't talk about is the center line. And to show you that, I'll cancel this window. I will open up again this subscribe. I will crop the part of interest. Okay, so when you go on center line, you can see that this is best suited for text. And so when you have text, the center line will basically find the center of the path, whatever is in there. And here you have the option to change the corner threshold. So if one portion is going to be recognized as a corner or as a curve, as you can see when I go up and down with this slider. And the line threshold, if a curve is going to be recognized as a line or to be kept as a curve. So as you can see, when I go up, the thing becomes weird. And so we want to go down so that we can follow the smooth curve of our writing on the paper. And so you got the idea. So once you are ready, you click on next and you are good to go. Now, let me show you how to append images. We've seen this in part 2 of this series of tutorial when working with Gcode files. So that's something that you can actually do with images as well. So let's open a simple image. So let's open this PNG file. open. And here I will show you a hint, something that you could be trying to test your line quality. So let's set horizontal 3 lines, or actually 2 lines. Let's auto crop here the image. Let's click on next, and let's click on reset here to set the 0 offset, and let's give a width of, let's say, 25. Okay, and so once we are happy with that, let's click on create. And so this is our first image. Now if you go back to file and click on append, this will not overwrite what is in the canvas, will actually open one more image in the canvas itself. So again, let's crop the image, let's crank up the number of lines to 4, let's give next, and now here we knew that the width was 25, so let's start the new image at, let's say, 30, so we have 5mm of offset from the previous one, and let's click OK. So now, as you can see, I have the first image and the second image, and we can also add the third file. Again, append. You can actually add something else if you like. I can append something more here. Let's give 6 lines this time, and so let's auto crop. Let's give on next. Let's again make this 25, and let's start from, let's say, 60, and so let's give on create. And as you can see, we now have our 3 files, and so you could basically now go ahead, send this to the machine, and you will be able to test your the quality of your machine with this simple trick. And so this is the same we did with Gcode. And now if we want to save this for a later use or to use it with another software, you can basically save the Gcode. So you can go under file and you can give on a quick save. So this is going to be an NC file, and so I'll give on save. So now we have something else in the canvas. So let's go to file, open, and let's open the file we created earlier, sweetyhome.nc. So let's give it a open, and as you can see, our image is back. And so the beauty of this is that now we could be opening another software and we can basically launch that inside, and we can basically engrave it. All right, and I think that this is pretty much all. Now if there is something that I haven't covered, leave them in the link below, so I will try to reply and to eventually speak about the things that I haven't covered in my next video. In the time being, I hope you found this video helpful. If you liked it, click the thumb up button below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this one. Ciao for now!